There we go. Hi everyone. If everyone just make sure to turn the microphones and the cameras off for this, that'd be great. Thank you. So you joined again by me and Rachel. So we did a webinar about a month ago now about socials, and that was my side of the business. So now we're doing personal branding because it was very much asked for, especially at the end of the webinar. We had a lot of questions on personal branding. So we thought, why not, advertise our new service, which is personal branding. And we've also been doing it a lot ourselves here at Superfly. So we thought we'd give everyone a little bit of a lesson and an overview of what we've been doing and how we do it basically, and how you can do it to advertise your business or get more leads into your business or just build a personal brand to grow your career. So we're going to go into how to build a personal brand on LinkedIn. Obviously, personal branding is a huge thing. You can do it anywhere, so Instagram, YouTube. It's also in real life as well, but we focus mainly on LinkedIn because we are a B2B business, and it gets us where we are today on LinkedIn.
So we're going to talk about, I'm going to ask some questions to Elle, and there's going to be sort of a question and answer element to it at the end as well. Enjoy. First of all, we're going to talk about setting goals and what is your why. So Ellie, what can you say about that?
So a very important thing for me when I was building my personal brand on LinkedIn was I wasn't sure why I was on there. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then I really focused on, what is my why? Like, why am I on this platform? And for me, that was to advertise me. So I obviously am here. I'm a social media manager. So I really needed to advertise what I was doing in a way that I would be able to speak to people and chat to people. So my why of being on there was to, sell the services that I do without actually selling services, but we'll go into that later. And also build myself up in my career. I'm lucky enough to work in a place where, we're all here for each other and we're all here to help build our careers. So for me, that was another reason for me to be on there. So you need to set your why. Why are you on this platform? And that'll really help you when it comes to content and also engagement as well, because you're engaging, to support your why of why you're on the platform. So once you've got those in place, I would then set your goals. So your goals basically it's sort of like your why, but your goals is the outcome far in advance. So my goal is to help get leads for the social side of the business, whereas some other people's goals might be different. So your goal, you're more looking into the future. So I would basically sit down and be like, right, what is the main reason I'm on here? So I want to, if you're a business owner, your goal might be to get to a certain revenue by the end of a year, and you are on LinkedIn in order to do that. So that's one of your goals. Setting your goals in anything is super important, but in LinkedIn, setting your goal and the reason as to why you're doing it will really motivate you to do better on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's your goals and your why. They're very similar but different, and I think it's just setting them as you go. Sometimes they might change, which is one thing that I did want to bring up, because my why and my goals were probably very different when I first started out building a personal brand on LinkedIn. But just reviewing them constantly and constantly making sure that they're right, because things do change.
It's about adapting it as well, to sort of recognizing what works and what doesn't work when you're sort of deciding. Sometimes you think of an idea of a topic of things that you want to sort of like post about, like just from my experience, and I've sort of thought, that's not really, like, I don't feel very passionate about that, or I'm not enjoying writing about this. So it's like you sort of have to sort of shift it, I guess. And adapt and like sort of evolve as to what is working and what isn't working for you and for you sort of following and stuff on LinkedIn.
Yes, definitely. 100%. I think it's just making sure you always have your audience in mind and doing things for yourself as well. But setting those is very, very important.
So then the next topic, profile optimization. So what is that for a start? Can you sort of explain what that means?
I think profile optimization can profile optimization, again, is something that changes all the time. It changes with you as a person, but we can obviously sit here and say what's worked for us, and what works for you might be a little bit different, but it's definitely a great starting point. So basically, profile optimization is what your profile looks like. So usually we would go through your header, your profile picture, your about section. We won't go through every single thing, but just making sure. The best advice I was ever given was by Lara Costa. If you don't know her, she's a huge LinkedIn creator. But she basically said to make your LinkedIn profile like a landing page, like a website. So you basically want your profile to be you and replicate you, but it's almost like this website. Imagine a CV was made into a website. That's how I sort of see a LinkedIn
That's a
page.
good way to compare it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what really helped me to leverage mine, and now it sort of stays the same. I sort of, don't change it like I used to. I used to switch out my colours all the time and my branding and things like that. So profile optimization is very important for people to recognize you, just like branding would be for like a company. You want it to be the same for you as well. So I was at a university talk the other day, and we was talking about personal brand and how important it is not only online but in person. And we were saying how like the color. So my favorite color has always been black. But I thought on LinkedIn to stand out, I had to pick like some extraordinary color to stand out, but nothing ever suited me. So I thought, right, I'm just going to go all in and choose the color black, which is exactly what I did. So now my entire page is branded black. So if anybody ever really sees anything, they recognize me straight away. So what I did then was created my banner. So my banner is black and it has me in it, and it has credentials. So I was voted for Prolific North, and I've been on LinkedIn News. It had all that in it, and then a clear statement of what it is that you can offer someone. So when someone clicks on your profile, it clearly states what you do and how you can help that person. And then moving on to profile picture, I would again stick to your branding and have a nice color, or just a zoom in. As long as your profile picture is zoomed into your face, that's fine. People connect with people, and if they can see clearly your face, then perfect.
It's good as well to sort of stick with a picture of yourself that you favor and sort of like run with it instead of like keep switching it out, because you want people to identify that it's you writing these person creating this content, and it's really important to have like you and your identity throughout it, so it's really obvious. It's like your post is so obviously you, not just because of the way you sort of format it and the colors. You regularly post very sort of like a bank of similar sort of imagery of yourself. That's really important as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the way that people's brains work. Like when we see an apple, instantly you picture Apple, the brand, and then as soon as you see, I can't think of another one, Starbucks, as soon as you see that logo, you instantly recognize it, and they never change it. And if they do, it was probably years and years and years ago. So you need something that's instantly recognizable, just like a logo, but it's your face.
Brand identity is just in general so important to build on your own platform, whether it is a personal brand or a business that you trying to create. To identify, it's just so it's one of the most important elements of it, really.
It is. It's how humans work. I think everything. The thing is, when I first got into marketing, I thought, it's just marketing, but like I always teach Lily in my team, it's psychology, and the way that people's brains work is so important, and so important to like everything that you do. So everything that you see online, if it's worked, it's probably because people know why it's worked, and people have an understanding of how other humans think. So it's just, again, that repetitiveness, and going deep into profile optimization here. But just keeping everything the same and try not to change everything all the time. And if you do stick to it, just stick to it. But yeah, so that's the top of it. And then your bio, I would do a clear statement of how you can help someone or what you're about. This just helps when you're posting content, your profile picture comes up, your name, and then a clear statement of how you can help someone, what it is, or what it is that you do. So people can recognize instantly what it is, if they want to connect with you, or
if they're interested sort of in what you have to talk about.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, for example, you're a graphic designer. So if you've had graphic designer at Superfly, people could instantly see that. Or even if you had some sort of quick statement. So mine is helping you stay relevant on LinkedIn. People can instantly know that my content is probably going to be about staying relevant on LinkedIn or staying relevant on social media.
I can't remember what mine says. I think it's something about branding and trends.
Yeah.
So it's like relevant to the content
that you're putting out.
that I'm putting out there.
Yeah, it's like summing up your content, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then about section, I was talking about this again at the university talk, and it is a bit different for everyone, but I would definitely not make it too long. I said about it, I was scrolling on TikTok the other day, and there's a guy that goes live, which is great, by the way. He's going live to help people build their CVs and the LinkedIn. But one thing that stuck out to me, what he said, was to write a lot in your about section, like 5 paragraphs. This guy wrote 3 and he asked him to write 2 more. And I was like, no. So what we all said was basically to just sum up who you are, what you do, how you can help someone, and how people can reach you. That is all your about section really needs to be. It doesn't need to be huge paragraphs, because what you need to think about is you're on LinkedIn to either find business or to get hired. That's main reasons why you're on there, really. So you need to make it quick for the end user, which is probably for a lot of people going to be a managing director or a manager of a team, and they're very busy people. So everything that you do on LinkedIn, keep that in mind. Everything needs to be quick, needs to be summed up for people. Big paragraphs just aren't going to work. So definitely have a look at some creators like Lara Acosta, Jasmine Alec. They have great about sections that you can manipulate. So yeah. What else is on a profile? Featured section, but we'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
We'll be here forever.
We'll do another webinar just on profile optimization. So the next one, the art of storytelling.
Yes.
So this is also a massively important element. Do you want to expand on that?
Yes. I'm sorry, I'm playing with my bottle. I should not do that. So the art of storytelling. So when I first started out in marketing, I was not the best storyteller. I didn't even really know what it was. I was terrible at copy, and now I totally understand why people should know it and learn it. So basically how I would define this is to build your story, and I did a post on this today. What you need to do, people are so scared to start LinkedIn because they don't want to put their personal life out there, and people think they need to tell everything, when they got engaged, when their mum's birthday is, when they got married, things like that. But you don't. You can set your own character. And I watched a webinar recently by Ash Jones, and they were basically saying, see it as a game. So you need to build your character, which is building your story and, your brand, like we was talking about. And then you can go onto LinkedIn and be that character. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to lie or put anything in your story that isn't true or isn't relevant, but you need to start from the beginning. So for example, everyone's probably sick of me saying, but I started as a Starbucks barista. I was a GP receptionist, and then I found out what marketing was and just try and find an apprentice or a way into the industry. And that's my story, and it keeps growing as well. So I'm now a year and a bit into Superfly, and it's only going to grow. So you do not need to go into your personal life whatsoever. There's nobody on LinkedIn that knows my personal life. And I think that's where people are really stuck on LinkedIn, because they're so scared to post, because they think, oh, well, what happened today? I need to tell everyone what's happening today. It's not Facebook, it's not Instagram, it's LinkedIn, and it's about you and your career and your career journey. So maybe get onto Notion. That would be my biggest advice, is get onto Notion and start at the very beginning and just write out paragraph upon paragraph of your journey and your story. That's how I did it, and then just set the scene and keep going. So yeah. That's what I did.
I think it's always hard to sort of create this story about yourself, but at the end of the day, everyone does have a story.
Yeah.
And everyone does have like a journey, a career journey, and something interesting to talk about. I think it's, from my perspective, I found it hard to sort of identify that, because it's like, oh, no one would be bothered about that. But it's actually, you know, surprising how interested people are in people's like sort of progression stories and how they got into a certain industry or career path or whatever. And it's sort of just writing how I did it. I sort of wrote down like the bullet points of a timeline essentially, and expanded on the sort of elements of how I got from that place to that place to that place. And there is a story within that, so it's sort of just being confident in what you have to say, because I personally at one point was like, oh, like I say, no one would be interested in this. No one
that's cares. All I heard.
I was like, no one cares about this. But you know, it surprises you, and you have more to say about like, you know, sort of your experiences and topics that you're interested in, stuff like that. You have more to say than you realize at first. You just have to essentially start at the, you know, the basics and expand on it and develop different points and content that you sort of can take from your story. So
it's how people connect with people in real life. It's you know, people, I relate to you because we've got certain things in common and stuff like that, whereas if we just came into real life and was connecting with people just being like, I run this business, do you like it? It's just not going to work.
No.
So the way to build your community is to relate to those people, and the only way of you doing that is to let them know who you are, your values, what you're interested in. And like, if people aren't interested in that, they'll unfollow you, which is fine, because they're not meant to. You know, you wouldn't have the same interests, so what's the point in following each other?
You won't be friends in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
But you sort of, when you're true to like your story and when you're creating content that is relevant to you and the things that you're interested in, it's like you then gain people, followers, connections, whatever.
You attract the right people.
You attract the people who are also interested in that, or interested sort of in you as a person because of the story that you're telling. Makes sense.
It's super important. And even if you're not a type of person to want to post about your story, I mean, my advice would always be to post a little bit about you and about your story, because people connect to people, and I will always say that. But you don't need to go into it. And like you post graphic design and niche trends and things like that. You don't always talk about yourself, so there is other ways around it, but storytelling is a part of how some of the biggest creators have got to where they are today, and is a huge part of growing on LinkedIn, because as I say, people connect to people.
Absolutely.
So
great.
Sorry, just really another subtopic off of storytelling, if you don't mind.
Go on.
So a huge part of storytelling means that you have to tell your story in a certain way, and copy is super important. We'll go into content and engagement in a moment, but in order to tell your story, you've got to sort of tell it properly. So I don't necessarily mean do one post a week of your full entire story. What we do mean is set the story in what I like to call the back end, like a website or Notion or something like that. And then when you're posting content, pull bits out of that. So when you do your copy on LinkedIn, maybe this was probably best for the next topic, to be honest, but it'll lead us in nicely. Paragraphs upon paragraphs upon paragraphs just don't really work. I think one of the biggest reasons I grew on LinkedIn was getting my copy right, because as I say, when I started, I hated writing. I'm terrible at writing. But once I learned and taught myself the skill of copywriting, that's when it sort of blew up.
You found it easier to then relay the story.
Yes, definitely.
Because I think as well, like when you are, you know, writing a story, and if you think about people's, you know, sort of attention span and level of engagement, in order to tell a story on this platform, I feel it needs to sort of be not short and sweet, but it needs to sort of be how would you say it? Instead of big paragraphs, you'd sort of like have sentences, sentences, and sort of lay it out so it's easily digestible.
Yeah, like a conversation in real life.
Yeah, and how they can follow that story along, and and really take it in and sort of learn from it as well.
There's a framework to copy, so what you would do is start off with a hook. So I think this is leading us nicely into content, so let's go into it.
We are going to talk about engagement and content.
So what we would basically advise is when you are writing on LinkedIn, again, LinkedIn is a text-based platform, which a lot of people get really confused, especially at the minute when video is big on LinkedIn, but it is a text-based platform and everyone needs to remember that. So like a YouTube video, at the beginning of your LinkedIn post, there'll be a hook. Just like a YouTube video, there'll be the title of the video and a thumbnail. The thumbnail comes in with your video or your graphic or your photo that you've put up. So you always need to think, how am I going to get people to press see more? Which is where your impressions are going to come from and your engagement. So how I would lay out your copy would be a hook at the beginning to hook people in to press see more. Then I would do the chunky bit of text where it's, this is how I started. Maybe you talking about, I got 5,000 followers in a month. This is how I started. And then you'd go into a little bit about how you started off and how it worked. And then you would go into what the person can take away from that and what they can do to learn from that, or how you failed and made the mistake at the end, and then how, so that basically some chunk of value that someone can take away and do themselves. And then at the bottom, you want a CTA, which is get someone to like it, get someone to repost, get someone to join your webinar, something like that. So just focus on your copy before, just writing a load of paragraphs, because it's just not going to work.
Yeah, copy is so important, because like you say, when you're scrolling on LinkedIn, and it's like you need that hook to stop people in their tracks from stopping them from scrolling. It's like any sort of social media thing where it's like if someone's wanting to try and get traction and engagement and your retention, it needs to sort of have that element of, what are they talking about here? What are they posting about? There needs to be that level of intrigue and interest into sort of the context of whatever it is. So the hook, and hooks are so hard to do sometimes as well. Like I really struggle sometimes to do it, but you sort of just, you learn off what works through posting sort of continuously.
I think with yours it's very, because you always come to me saying, how's this hook? And then I'll say, well, what you've put there is really just summed up what the picture is, so I'd probably keep scrolling. So what I would do is have sort of the image as the outcome. So that's, for example, for you would be the niche, the images of the niche trend that you're talking about. But then your hook would go into, this made this company £10,000. Here's why. And they have to press see more to see the result, because they'll probably want to do that for their company. So the hook is giving the answer away, sort of, but they still need to press see more to understand why they got to that outcome.
And I think as well, the likelihood, if someone does press to see more, read the rest of the context, they're probably going to engage with it a hell of a lot more. Like if it's just like or love or whatever, and then maybe if they have an opinion, they'll drop it in the comments and then start that conversation.
Definitely.
Which is sort of like what you want in order to gain that traction and reshares as well. From having that interesting element of the post to then read it and be like, oh, this is a great post.
That leads us nicely onto engagement, to be honest, which is a part of it where a lot of people like to just go on LinkedIn just to engage rather than creating the content. I know when I was at the uni talk, a lot of the students did say that they were on there just liking things, and that necessarily doesn't work, but engagement is the key to LinkedIn, especially commenting. So comments are actually probably the biggest part of LinkedIn, and something that I would just, if you can't, well, everybody can take 20 minutes out of the day just to comment on things that they like, that they value, or maybe have a different opinion on. They want to, sway the conversation. Actually, I think this, because like real life, commenting is like having a conversation with someone, and having a conversation with someone with different people will get you down different avenues in different places, whereas content is basically just showcasing you and yourself and what you think, whereas comments will start that conversation with different people and also get you seen a lot more as well, because comments are something that push you out onto the news feed. So yeah, I would definitely try and take 20 minutes out of your day, everyone, to comment and engage on people's content, because that's where you'll see proper growth.
Yeah, I think as well, you engaging with the people who are commenting on your posts as well, like quite, you know, sort of not rapidly, but being on it with replying to people, that also adds to the level of hype around that post, which will then inevitably sort of gain popularity. You'll find that the more sort of traction you get on a post in the comments as well, it entices more people to join that conversation. Encourages people to reshare the post or like the post, and then you often get some quite good like sort of statistics from the posts. It seems to sort of work. Because the more commenting, the more people have it on their feed. So
yeah, it works really well. Content and engagement are great separately, but they work very powerful when they're together. So I would try and do them both, especially if your goal is to build your business or anything like that.
So as well, in terms of content, imagery.
Yes. So as I say, imagery, it's like the thumbnail of a YouTube video. How are you going to get them to either recognize you or press see more? So my content, what I do is I set a folder on my desktop, and I personally use images quite a lot, or graphics. So I will set a folder on my desktop and take photos that are purposely for my personal brand, and I will put them in my folder. People hate repeating themselves, but they need to repeat themselves in order to grow on LinkedIn. So I will use the same images. I will turn the images into graphics. I will update them every now and again. Or I'll use photos from my previous job to tell a story, which also helps with the storytelling posts. But I will repetitively use them, and I've done that for the past 5 or 6 months, and it's worked really, really well. Whereas a lot of mistakes I see people do is using selfies that they've taken that morning, or, you know, a picture of the outing that they had at the weekend, something like that, which isn't necessarily going to work. It works for some people, I think, if they do it right. For example, their copy and their engagement, but it's not really going to work if you're trying to build a reputable personal brand on LinkedIn. It's something that I personally do, so that's how I go down it, whereas Rachel goes down it a different route. So you'll have, because you talk about trends and things, don't you?
So in terms of my content, the imagery that I put with the post is relevant to the copy, and I'm usually talking about a different thing. I guess if I was to talk about myself in a story, and I would try and, like you say, use sort of similar imagery, selected photos of myself, whatever. But I think I found as well, sort of having multiple images on one post.
Yeah, that works
well. Instead of just one, it's sort of like a little montage of different, ones.
It does, and
I find that helps sort of engagement and
I
results.
tested that out because I had a post that went really, really, really well, and I didn't know whether it's because of what I was talking about, the way the copy was laid out, or if it was the content that I did. And so I tested that for a couple of weeks, and I ended up realizing it was the actual images. So I'd use 3 to 4 images on the post, and for some reason it does really well. But I think the reason behind it is that the people are on the post a lot longer if they're scrolling through your photos. So just like a carousel does really well, a lot of photos also do really well. And I think it also helps create your character in the other person's head, because they've got multiple photos of you, and they can really see your personality in all of these photos, especially if you're using ones that, you went on a trip or something like that.
I think as well, it's easier to engage and understand from the off. If you compare a post on LinkedIn that is just a paragraph or a few sentences, compared to one where it's like text and then a few images. It's like,
Yeah.
which I'm more likely to scroll past the ones that I don't even really see them anymore, though, to be honest.
Just text.
I feel like just text posts posts are kind of, I don't know, with the like not appearing as much, because you do find the more successful posts have context to their text. They have images, they have, you know, what it's about. Or if, for instance, I'm talking about a trend or a campaign, it makes sense for me to put the visuals alongside of what I'm saying about it and my opinion or whatever fact I'm saying about it. It makes sense to give the viewer, you know, the context and the rundown of what I'm actually talking about.
Yeah, I think visuals really help you, especially on the news page, to stand out amongst everyone else. I think the people that do really well with just copy are the people that have already built that reputable personal brand that everybody recognizes. They're really good at copy. They're really good at tying you into what it says. Like, you could stop scrolling and be like, oh, I know who that person is. Oh my God, they've just said that. Press see more. Whereas I think if I was to come out and do a text post, I don't think it'd really work for me. No. I mean, I might try it, but
I think it's maybe sometimes harder as well to identify that it's that person who I follow who's
whereas if there's a giant picture there, or there's, you know, your 4 pictures that you like really always post, then it's very recognizable. It's about being recognizable, filling out the entire news feed that people are scrolling down. Just trying to stand out amongst everyone else.
People appeal so much more to visuals often as well.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Yeah,
definitely.
Great. Anything else about engagement and content?
I don't think so. I think we've gone through quite a lot. But to just to finish it off, obviously we are from Superfly Marketing, if nobody didn't know. And we are actually doing a personal branding service as well. So if anybody wanted to get in touch, you're welcome to just visit our website and press talk to us, and then add your details, and it'll go straight to Nick, and we'll get on a chat or a call just to go through why it might help you. Or if you know anybody that wants personal branding or just wants help building their business, then please do get in touch on the website again. And I'd look forward to having a chat with you. Obviously, that would be with me, Nick, and Lily. And we'll see how personal brand can work for you as well.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'll see you all soon. And thank you for joining the webinar. We have recorded it, so it will be going out on YouTube. And we'll let you know when that's out. But thank you for joining the call.
Thank you.